Hey, I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex. Welcome to my second installment of my new monthly video on the best expansions and new editions of board games coming to retail every month. I do a normal video and have been doing it for over a year on the best new games coming to retail, but these are the best expansions and new editions. And retail, for anybody wondering, to me doesn't just mean friendly local game stores. Yes, it does mean that, but it also means online, just essentially any place that you can get them fairly immediately and fairly easily. So these are the best expansions and new additions coming to retail in the month of October 2022. Arcane Wonders is releasing RWBY Combat Ready Team JNPR expansion. It is a mouthful. So to those that don't know, RWBY, that's written RWBY, is actually an animated web series. It's an American production through Rooster Teeth, but it's an anime style web series where everybody's fighting different bad guys and stuff like that. And Arcane Wonders released a game a few years ago on the main characters of RWBY, the four central heroes, and the JNPR expansion adds new characters you can play with. You're going to play as the Honorable Leren, Dependable Jean, Feisty Nora, and the legendary Pyra. And I guarantee I got some of those pronunciations wrong, so I apologize if you're a huge fan of RWBY, okay? So yeah, this is a way to play with new characters in the game. Board and Dice is releasing 2 expansions this month, and I'm also going to mess up the pronunciation of this first one. Tawantinsuyu, that's a game, and the expansion is Golden Age. So Board and Dice, known for their Euro series of T games, and I say T games because all the games start with the letter T. So Tawantinsuyu is one of those games that is in that T series that's got a lot of fans, very popular. And the Golden Age is a new expansion for that game. The expansion contains 4 modules in it. The Way of the Sun module introduces 2 alternative layouts for the Sun Temple. The Vassals of the Inca module introduces a new secondary action that lets you utilize the specialties of the other nations. Your armies conquer. The Nobles and Newcomers module is the largest of the new modules, and it introduces a number of new features: building type, newcomer workers, several passive buildings. And the Pachamama module is an improved and streamlined solo opponent for the game. So if you're a big fan of the game, the base game, this has a lot of replayability, adds a lot of stuff into the game. A lot of different modules and ways that you can play. All right. Board and Dice is also releasing Origins Ancient Wonders. So this is a expansion to their game that came out maybe even last year or 2 years ago, Origins First Builders, which was a very pretty looking game and a lot of drafting dice in the game. So Origins Ancient Wonders adds to that game. Let's see, what does it do? It's an expansion. It consists of 2 separate modules, which can be added to your game separately or together. The Ancient Wonders module enables a new type of building that can be added to your city. 8 majestic ancient wonders that bring variability and options to the game. And Trials of the Builders module is an end-of-round scoring objectives that require you to find the right balance between pursuing advancements required by the current round objective versus progressing the personal goals you have set for your civilization already. So this module adds a predetermined length to the game. In the original game, there was a bunch of different sort of end games, a bunch of different ways that the game could end. Well, this adds a predetermined length to the game, so you don't have to like keep guessing, like, is this game gonna be 90 minutes or 3 hours? Well, nobody knows, but now you kind of know. So that's a nice thing about Origin's Ancient Wonders. Capstone Games is releasing a couple of map packs to Ark Nova. Ark Nova, probably one of the hits of the end of last year, beginning of this year. Definitely a very, very popular game about building a zoo. And it's, you know, a lot of thematic elements, a lot going on, definitely a complex game. This map pack adds a couple of maps, so it changes the game mechanics and the zoo layouts for you to explore. So multiple double-sided zoo maps that give you new challenges for Ark Nova. Catan Studios is releasing The Helpers. So this is one that came out a long time ago, but they're re-releasing it to retail now. That's called Helpers of Catan. Catan Scenarios, Helpers of Catan. It's a mini expansion, that's what they call it. It's compatible with Catan Seafarers and both Catan 5 to 6 player extension and Catan Seafarers 5 to 6 player extension. And it consists of 10 character cards, each of which has a different special ability that player can use once or twice before trading for another. So if you've always wished that you kind of got a special ability in the game of Catan, well, now you can get it in retail. That is Helpers of Catan. All right, CGE is releasing an expansion to Galaxy Trucker called Keep On Truckin'. Ho-ho! You gotta keep on trucking, big dog. You gotta get out there and you gotta truck. You truck away. So Galaxy Trucker, if you haven't played it, is a very chaotic but very fun game about building up a spaceship, and then everybody else gets to blow up your spaceship, and whoever's spaceship lasts the longest wins. And so in Galaxy Trucker Keep On Trucking, it sort of makes the game harder. If you've already mastered the original Galaxy Trucker, if you've already, you know, figured out how you make your ships and you constantly win, well, now this is gonna make the game more difficult for you. It adds new ships that you want to try, ships that'll challenge you, ships that will make you ask, what were they thinking? You know, that's if you want to feel perplexed, you know, play Galaxy Trucker Keep On Trucking. Oh, if you want more challenges, play this game too. If you got bored of the original game, ho-ho, this is for you. I believe this is for you. All right, Fantasy Flight Games, along with Asmodee, is releasing The Lord of the Rings, the card game Fellowship of the Ring Saga expansion. So this is, in this game, the Lord of the Rings game is a collectible card game where you are, you know, living out the journey of Frodo Baggins, if you read or watched any of the Lord of the Rings movies. This is, in this version, this expansion, you're experiencing the beginning of the journey to destroy the One Ring, all right? This expansion contains 6 scenarios that recreate the adventures featured in the first part of the legendary Lord of the Rings saga. You can find over 50 hero and player cards, which can be used to build or enhance your decks for any of the Lord of the Rings card game scenario or campaign. It does put a note here. They did want to note that for longtime fans of The Lord of the Rings, the card game, this expansion combines all of the contents from the Black Riders and The Road Darkens. So if you already have those 2 expansions, this won't add anything for you. But if you're looking to spice up, if you just have the base game and you're looking to spice it up, then check out the Fellowship of the Ring Saga expansion. Play All Day is releasing to retail in North America Catapult Feud Volcano. So Catapult Feud is a very silly, fun game where you are building up defenses and launching boulders and balls at the other person's defenses and trying to knock down their castle walls. And they have continually added to the system. You know, the base game, you just have some guys on some walls and you build up your walls and you shoot some cannonballs and stuff like that. But all these expansions keep changing the way the game plays or adding you new ways to launch boulders, all that sort of stuff. So this expansion is Volcano, and in this expansion, it's a whole new game mode. Essentially, you are placing a giant volcano down in the center of the table, and then it is gonna mess you up. And you can either choose to try to harness the volcano, but it might backfire and hurt you too. At the beginning of each round, the volcano erupts, shooting random balls of fire at players. So, you want a little more randomness? Do you keep beating somebody in Catapult Feud? You're just great at shooting it? Well, maybe this will knock you down a peg, huh? Maybe this volcano will come for you, bro. Yeah, don't get so cocky with your Catapult Feud skills. Play this volcano and it'll add some randomness in there. What do we have next? We have Portal Games is releasing an expansion to Imperial Settlers Empires of the North called Wrath of the Lighthouse. So to anybody who's played Imperial Settlers Empires of the North, you know it is a really good engine building game where you have a lot of different options. You play as a certain clan, and there's a little bit of asymmetry to all the different clans. They each have their own specialized deck of cards, so they can do different things well. The Empires of the North, the Wrath of the Lighthouse, is actually a story-driven solo campaign for Empires of the North. So if you're a huge fan of Empires of the North, but you could never find anybody else to play with, well, now here's your chance. Maybe everybody else has moved on to other games, but you still wish you could play it. Now is your chance, okay? It has 15 unique solo scenarios played in the order corresponding with the story included in the campaign book. So a bunch of different content for you to play Empires of the North on your own. And then even when the campaign mode, when playing the campaign mode, you're gonna get access to new types of cards, including event cards, legacy location cards that last from one game to other, Lighthouse cards that are shuffled into the island decks. So it adds a bunch of fun new challenge stuff in there. So that is Wrath of the Lighthouse. Renegade Game Studios is releasing a couple of expansions this month. They have the Transformers deck building game is getting a new expansion called Infiltration Protocol. So the Transformers deck building game, there's a lot of content for it. You keep going. It's based on the Transformers IP with the Autobots versus the Decepticons. In this particular expansion, the Decepticons have enacted the Infiltration Protocol, a 6-stage plan to destabilize and conquer new worlds. Luckily, the Wreckers are here to stop them. This expansion brings new cards and ways to play the game, one versus many, and an objective-focused game mode, the Infiltration Phase variant. So, if you want, to add some new play modes to your Transformer deck building game, or if you like deck building games and you want to build more options into your Transformers deck building game, well, here you go. Now's your chance. Renegade has been doing a lot of deck building games right now. They have the G.I. Joe deck building game, they have the Power Rangers deck building game, and a new one they released this fall was the My Little Pony Adventures in Equestria deck building game. They have a new expansion for that one called Familiar Faces. So if you, the other games like the Transformers deck building game, there's a lot going on, there's a lot of rules to learn and stuff like that. The My Little Pony deck building game is a bit more of a family-friendly deck building game. It's an easier one to get involved with. It's an easier one to pick up than some of their other ones. So in this expansion, the Familiar Faces expansion, it adds new characters, new cards, hurdles, challenges. It basically adds a lot of new content to the game. So if you've been playing My Little Pony a bunch over the last few months, because it really only just came out in the fall, earlier in the fall, now is your chance to add a bunch more stuff to it. You can keep it fresh for yourself. Ooh, I love a fresh little pony. Oh, just look at that jaunty little pony getting all over the places. Yeah, everybody loves a My Little Pony. Bronies! I kind of want to be a brony. I just don't have the courage. All right, the Op is releasing an expansion to Disney Sorcerer's Arena Epic Alliances. This is a game that came out in June. It is a two-player only game. It is an arena combat game that also is a simpler arena combat game to get into. If you've wanted to try an arena combat game, but some of the, big nerdy ones look like they might be too much for you, well, Disney Sorcerer's Arena Epic Alliances sort of holds your hand and walks you into it very well. I think it does a great job of that. The base game came with a number of different Disney characters, but they plan to add more and more characters to the game through expansions. So that's what this is doing. This is adding 3 new characters to the game. So if you've already played, the base game had things like Aladdin and Gaston and Maleficent and a bunch of other well-known ones. Well, this one adds Jack Skellington from the Nightmare Before Christmas. It adds the Horn King from the Black Cauldron, and it adds Mother Gothel from Tangled. So 3 different, sort of bad guys that you can play with here. One thing to note is Disney Sorcerer Arena Epic Alliances as a whole, not just this expansion, is a 2-player only game, or you can play it as 4 players in teams of 2. So if you like the idea of those characters, one of the other fun things about Disney Sorcerer Arena Epic Alliances is each of the characters has their own deck of cards and their own special abilities. So this is going to add, these are going to be no exception. These guys have their own special abilities that you're adding into the game. So it's fun to play with different characters and experiment with who you like playing with and that sort of thing. So those are the expansions coming out in October, but we do have also a number of new editions of games that are coming out, updated editions, things like that I think are worth talking about. Also, particularly, if you haven't played these games, you're probably going to want to start with these new editions because this is, they've made it better. They've improved the game most of the time. So 25th Century Games is releasing a new edition of Christmas Lights. We are getting ready for the holiday season now. It is upon us, and Christmas Lights is a really nice little family card game. It's a good stocking stuffer if you want to get a stocking stuffer. It's got a little bit of Hanabi in it where you're holding cards, but you don't know what your cards are, what they indicate, and you're trying to figure out what your cards are so you can make a pattern, a string of Christmas lights. You want to put them in the correct order, and you're doing it by getting information from other people and that sort of stuff. So nice little small box card game for the family at Christmas time. 25th Century Games is also releasing a new edition of Ghost Love Candy called Ghost Love Candy 2, 2 being T-O-O. So this is a great one for Halloween. We're at Halloween right now. In Ghost Love Candy 2, you are traveling through the neighborhood. You are playing as ghosts, traveling through the neighborhood, haunting kids to steal their candy. And, another thing is you could do that in real life. You can scare kids and steal their candy in real life. But if you feel bad doing that, if you feel bad ruining a kid's evening, play this game, and then you could just ruin the kid's evening in the game. How about that? You just steal their candy here, and you eat it all in one night, and you feel sick, but you don't care because you're an adult and you make the rules now. All right? So that's Ghost Love Candy 2. AEG is releasing the 10th anniversary edition of Smash Up. So if you have loved Smash Up for a long time, it's been going for 10 years. For those that don't know, Smash Up is a card game, an area control card game where there are a bunch of different factions, and one of the most fun things about the game is you can mix and match factions. So you can play like princesses versus zombies, or princesses versus Marvel superheroes, or that sort of stuff, and mix and match. The 10th anniversary edition adds a few new factions, a new way to play, and tons of goodies. So there's a lot of different stuff in this one. The ones that they've released already, the factions that are going to be in it that they've released already, are Skeletons, World Champs, and Mermaids, but there probably will be some other stuff in there. There's also going to be things like the 10th anniversary art book, all new big base mode of play. They're going to have a goblin collector's coin in there, so you can actually flip a nice physical coin. Lots of different stuff. So if you're a fan of Smash Up, then check out the anniversary edition. Congrats on 10 years, Smash Up. You made it. You are this many now, okay? You could do it on 2 hands here. Asmodee is also releasing Star Wars The Clone Wars, a pandemic system game. So this one came out into Target at the end of September, but is now available all over the place in October. So this basically takes the pandemic system of a game and sets it in the Star Wars universe. So are you a fan of cooperative games where you're rushing around the board? Well, now you have a Star Wars version of that. So it's, think of Pandemic as the game, but in this one you're traversing the galaxy as Jedi heroes, and you're working together to confront the onslaught of the droids by moving into their spaces, engaging them in combat, utilizing dice and squad cards to deal damage and push back the threat. So this is sort of right before it's like the Clone Wars. If you're a Star Wars fan, this is the Clone Wars, and you are fighting against these onslaught of droids and trying to win as a group together. So that sounds fun, I love a good cooperative game where you get to win together. Come on. Just a bunch of teammates over here. Game Brewer is releasing a new edition of The Palaces of Carrara. The first edition of this came out about 10 years ago, so it was needed a refresh here. So in the game, the original game and this game, you are playing as you're trying to utilize marble to build up different palaces and structure and that sort of stuff. So the second edition includes a revised set of rules, as well as a completely new advanced version that will include many new strategies and ways of scoring. The new advanced mode of play introduces statues, which will allow you to score your buildings in a multitude of different ways. The original game was a Kramer and Kiesling game, very renowned and respected game designers. So now this has a bunch of new stuff in it, updated look, updated gameplay. So yeah, if you like a good, mid-weight Euro game, The Palaces of Carrara is that. Nice mid-weight Euro game. All right, Flat River Group, in association with Horrible Guild, is releasing a new version of Similo. So Similo is a card game where you are trying to guess a secret character by playing other character cards from your hand and then stating whether they are similar or different to the secret character. There have been a lot of different versions of Similo, a lot of different themes. This new edition is Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. So it follows, the world of Harry Potter before Harry Potter, but still, it's a cooperative deduction game where you are trying to figure out that. So if you're a fan of this new series of movies, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, well, this is for you. Lots of different characters that you know. And another, small box card game. This is a quick and easy game to get into that you can kind of take anywhere with you and play. Heidelbar, in association with Flat River Group, is releasing a new edition of Animal Poker. So this is an old game. This is a game that originally came out in like 1988. So having a nice refresh here. Heidelbar, pretty well known for small box card games as well. And so in this is a 4 to 8 player game, 20 minutes, and you are, playing as different animals in the Animal Inc. Corporation, and you are trying to move up the corporate ladder, all right? You are trying to improve your performance and take over, and knock your superiors off of their perch. Yeah, we don't like you, superiors. So it's the unfair life of promotion and demotion here in Animal Poker. All right, Cosmos is releasing a couple of new additions. One is Karak, which is also known as the Catacombs of Karak, if you'd like to say all of them. This is a family weight game. And it's like a dungeon crawl labyrinth type of a game, but one that you can play with, you know, your children. You know, they say this plays ages 7 and up. So if you're looking for like a family weight game, you are leading one of 6 different characters into a labyrinth, all right? Tile by tile, you uncover what the labyrinth looks like, so it'll be different each playthrough, and you have to equip yourself with weapons and spells, you gotta fight monsters, you gotta collect treasures, and then the player with the most treasure at the end wins. So yeah, that's a nice little family game for you. Cosmos is also releasing a couple of advent calendars in the Exit series. So Exit, the game, is a very well-known game with a bunch of different editions of it, and it's basically an escape room, a mystery in a box. You know, it's a one-time use only thing, but it's a fun evening. You get an escape room in a box and you are trying to figure it out. So these advent calendars, we got 2 of them. We got the Hunt for the Golden Book and the Mystery of the Ice Cave. They are essentially turning that Exit system into just a game that you're going to play over the 24 days or 25 days. You're just going to open a spot on the advent calendar, get a new piece of information, and try to solve the case over 25 different days. So this feels like a fun family activity to do. You know, you can play it over the entire month of December and try to figure it out. You know, I like the idea of that, you know, putting a game in an advent calendar. I loved advent calendars with chocolate when I was a kid. What kid didn't? Man, I got chocolate every single day. I didn't care if it was garbage chocolate because it was chocolate, okay? But this feels like the adult version of that. We're going to solve a mystery instead of, you know, contribute to our poor health. And so we're trying to improve our diet, so we are playing this version instead. All right. And they have 2 different options for you to choose from, so just pick the theme that you like better with it. Next Move Games is releasing a new edition of Azul. This is Azul Master Chocolatier. So this does a couple of things. One, it really is, there have been a bunch of new versions of Azul, you know, Summer Pavilion, Queen's Garden, that sort of stuff. And those all really sort of changed the gameplay of Azul. Well, one, this you can play basically like the exact, it can be just the original version of Azul, but with cool new tiles. These are new tiles that look like different sweet treats and stuff like that. So if you want to like refresh the look of your Azul game, this is a thing this is the version you can play, and it plays just like the original game. But on the other side of the factory boards, so one side of the factory boards is, you know, just like the base game, the original game of Azul. But one side of the factories is blank, and when using this side, the blank side you play exactly like the base game of Azul. But the other side of each factory tile has a special effect on it that modifies play in one way or another, putting a twist on the normal game. So you can play just like the base game of Azul, the original game of Azul, but with cool new tiles, or you can add special abilities into the game that modify the game in different ways. So yeah, I mean, I love Azul, and I like, you know, I still, the original version of Azul is still my favorite, probably partly just for some, you know, nostalgia reasons, because that was one of the games that I felt like got me into modern board games, you know, especially into, you know, before that I was playing a lot of party games like Codenames and, you know, Telestrations and things like that. So Azul was one that was like, ooh, this is like a fun puzzle game with a little bit of strategy to it. So this is kind of a fun refresh to the original game of Azul. All right, Portal Games is releasing the 2nd edition of Basilica. So this is a two-player only game. It takes about 45 minutes to play, and you are competing with another architect on building a majestic cathedral. So you are competing against each other. It is an area control tile laying game set in medieval Florence, and it offers a lot of heavy player interaction. We are going to be messing with each other, but it's also still easy to learn. So, if you like a two-player game with a little bit, heavier on the strategy, but still also heavy on the player interaction, then Basilica seems like a good one for you. All right, next up we have Steve Jackson Games is releasing to retail the 6th edition. This game has been around a while. Of Car Wars. Car Wars, you are battling and dueling with other drivers in the lawlessness of year 2070. God, I hope 2070 isn't that lawless in real life. That is not that far away. I feel like I'm gonna live to see 2070. Knock on wood, okay? Did I just jinx myself? God, I hope not. So in this game, you're choosing your vehicle. Your vehicle has weapons and armor and all, body styles, different, all that. There's a lot of cool stuff to it, and you're taking them out on the road, and you are fighting against other drivers to destroy their cars and get around a track. So that is Car Wars, 6th edition. So, yeah. All right, we have Stonemaier Games is releasing the Essential Edition of Between Two Cities. So Between Two Cities is an interesting game where you're building a city, but you're doing one city with the player to your right and one city with the player to your left. So you're basically semi-cooperative with each of these people, and then you only score for your weaker city. So it behooves you to kind of build up each city here and stuff like that. So it is and it's one of the nice things about Between Two Cities is it's a strategy game that plays 7 players. So you can, a lot of strategy games just don't play that high of a player count. So this one playing 1 to 7. So in the Essential Edition, it combines components from the original game and the Capitals expansion into one cohesive whole. It features a bigger box than the original game, different art on some tiles, and a score pad instead of a board, but there are no new gameplay elements. It just combines everything, makes it easier for you to store in a bigger box. So if you're Between Two Cities a fan, check that one out. And lastly, for you here, WizKids is releasing Fantasy Realms Deluxe. So in Fantasy Realms, monarchs are competing to construct the most prosperous kingdom in the realm. And this deluxe, the deluxe box has updated every card with a sleek, intuitive graphic design. The base game cards have also been updated to include new art, and it gives the entire game a fresh look. So this Fantasy Realms Deluxe Edition it combines, it includes the original base game, the Cursed Horde expansion with the 2 expansion modules, the Jester and Phoenix cards, and 100 art sleeves to protect all the cards included. So you are playing, in the game you're playing cards one at a time. You collect beasts, armies, wizards, more. So if you're a fan of Fantasy Realms, well, now you got a deluxe edition. So that's it. That's what I got for you on the expansions and new additions this month. I just started a Patreon for this series, so if you want to help support all the research that I do in this, and if you want to get some perks like seeing my spreadsheet and seeing what's coming up in the future months and stuff like that, you can join my Patreon. I'll put a link to it, but it's just basically patreon.com/GrantsGameRex. So yeah, one of the things is, it takes me many hours. I spend 10 hours just emailing everybody and stuff like that, trying to figure out what's coming out this month or what's delayed. I have a spreadsheet. I think my November one right now has 60 games that might come out, and I just got to follow up with everybody and see what's delayed and what's coming out. Obviously, all the shipping woes continue, and things are constantly delayed this still, we're still, we were struggling with it in 2020, and unfortunately, we are still struggling with shipping delays and stuff like that. So please consider checking out my Patreon. Thanks so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe and share it with your friends. I hope you found something that you're into. I hope you get a cool expansion for a game you already love. Thanks so much. I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex.